Hello there, very good evening and welcome to Primetime News on TV1. For the News First team, I'm Martin Satyanesan. Let's start off with a look at your headlines for this evening.
Resolution against Sri Lanka adopted at the UN Human Rights Council. Foreign Minister says resolution has breached the UN Charter. State Minister Ajit Nivard Kabral denies occurrence of a sugar scam.
මේ වෝහාරික විගණනයක් තුලින් අපිට ඇත්ත වශයෙන්ම හොයා ගන්න පුළුවන් ඇත්තටම ජනතාවට කොච්චර ගියාද එහෙමත් නැත්නම් අනික් කට්ටියගේ සාක්කු වලට කොච්චර ගියාද කියලා.
Protest held in Colombo demanding wage hikes for the private sector and permanent appointments for development officers. Are moves underway to construct 2 weavers in Singharaja? Minister Chamal responds to concerns.
මාධ්‍යයෙන් ප්‍රකාශ වුණේ හරියට සිංහරාජ කැලේ මුදුනේ වැව් හදනවා කියලා වගේ.
Main sponsor.
LG OLED TV. Color that goes beyond clarity.
Stories in detail. The resolution tabled against Sri Lanka at the 46th UN Human Rights Council sessions was passed with 22 votes in favour today.
The resolution against Sri Lanka was tabled before the UN Human Rights Council by the UN core group at 3:30 p.m. Sri Lankan time today. The core group, led by the United Kingdom, comprises Germany, Canada, Montenegro, North Macedonia and Malawi. This was the 6th resolution tabled before the UN Human Rights Council since 2012 on promoting reconciliation, accountability and human rights in Sri Lanka. The resolution was taken up for a vote after China and Pakistan had made a request to that effect during today's sessions. Accordingly, 22 member states of the UN Human Rights Council voted in favour of the resolution, 11 voted against, while 14 abstained from voting. Pakistan and China were among the countries that voted against the resolution, while India and Japan were among the member states that abstained from voting. The resolution expresses serious concerns over several matters, including surveillance and intimidation of civil society and restrictions on media freedom in the country. The resolution noted that such trends threaten to reverse the limited gains made in recent years and risk the recurrence of policies and practices that gave rise to the grave violations of the past. Meanwhile, Sri Lanka rejected the resolution that was brought against the country today.
Sri Lanka considers the draft resolution to be unwarranted, unjustified, and in violation of the relevant articles of the United Nations Charter. It is based on the rejected report of the OHCHR on Sri Lanka, which was tabled at this session, and which violates the principles of sovereign equality of all states and non-interference in internal affairs. The resolution is presented without the consent of Sri Lanka as the country concerned and is therefore unhelpful and divisive. No country has a greater interest in bringing about reconciliation among its peoples than the country concerned.
Several protests were held in Colombo today with various demands, including permanent appointments for development officers.
The Workers' Struggle Centre launched a protest today demanding permanent appointments for development officers who were recruited in 2019 and various other demands. The protesters commenced the demonstration from Town Hall and marched towards the Ministry of Finance. Thereafter, an opportunity was given to 10 protesters to enter the Finance Ministry premises and hold discussions with the Deputy Secretary of the Treasury.
The discussions were carried out with the Secretary to the Ministry and 2 officials from the Ministry, but none of them took any responsibility for the requests we made. Thereafter, we told them, if this way will not work, we will resort to another option. If they cannot hear us today, we will make sure to make more noise in the future.
Meanwhile, the Ceylon Electricity Board Technological Engineers and Superintendent Union launched a protest opposite the Ceylon Electricity Board today, citing that the actions taken by the management of the CEB are illegitimate and ad hoc.
There is no proper management at the CEB. The management has abandoned 30,000 employees and carries out the recruitment and the promotion process according to their own whims and fancies. We demand them to put a stop to these illegal acts and to appoint an independent commission to evaluate the performances of the employees and to reinstate a proper recruitment and promotion procedure. A presidential commission must be appointed to reveal all these discrepancies and illegitimate activities at the CEB. We request that these perpetrators must be brought before the law and be punished.
Thereafter, the protesters marched towards the presidential secretariat and 3 of them were granted the opportunity to hold discussions with an additional secretary to the president. The protesters dispersed after the officials promised them an epistle that was handed over by the protesters, which will be given to the president. The Ceylon Bank Employees Union carried out a protest in Kolpiti today, demanding to reduce the contract period of trainees to 2 years and to provide the pension to retired bank officials. The protesters cited that the bank is extending the trainee period of new recruits and exploiting their labour.
"8 months ago, we launched a struggle for the rights of state bank employees. On the 26th of July, Honorable Prime Minister, in his capacity as the Minister of Finance, gave instructions to resolve this management issue. That instruction has been passed on to the state banks of the country by the Secretary to the Ministry of Finance as well. But now, it has been more than 8 months and this instruction has not been carried out by the state banks. Because of that, the union had to take it to the streets once again.
The group then marched to temple trees and police took steps to block them. 5 protesters were allowed to hand over an epistle containing their demands to the temple trees.
A debate ensued when MP Manusha Nanayakara attempted to raise a question in Parliament today.
Honourable Speaker, permit me to raise an important matter. A court case that was filed at the Colombo court was scheduled to be taken up on the 21st of January, but this was hurriedly called up on the 20th of November. A verdict was also given favouring one party. Exactly a day after, a judge named Lafir Tahir was promoted to the Provincial High Court. It is now clear that the Justice Minister manipulated the judicial proceedings by using this promotion as a bribe for his own advantage. This was a matter related to a lawyer. Parliament is where laws are made.
පාර්ලිමේන්තුව නීති හදන තැන. හැබැයි මේ නීති හදන තැන අපි වගකීමක් තියෙනවා මේ වගේ අධිකරණයේ හැල්ලුවට පත් කරන වැඩ
ඉදිරිපත් කරන්න. 27 පාර්ලිමේන්තු පිළිතුරු අපේක්ෂා කරන ප්‍රශ්න හේෂා විතානගේ මැතිතුමා.
මහානගර කතානායකතුමනි.
ඕ මරි
දාලානේ අහන්න ඕන දැන්නේ.
ඕ මරි කර්මන්තුමා කියන්නේ.
ගරු කතානායකතුමනි දැන් මනුස්ස නානායකකාර මැතිතුමා මතු කරපු එක එහෙම යට ගහන්න එපා ගරු කතානායකතුමනි. මේකට මේ පාර්ලිමේන්තු සභාවේ උත්තරයක් දෙන්න ඕන ගරු කතානායකතුමනි.
මේක ප්‍රශ්නයක් නෙමෙයි. ඒක මෙතන මතු කරන ප්‍රශ්නයක් නෙමෙයි. හේෂා විතානගේ මැතිතුමා
මම අහනවා.
Thereafter, MPs Manusha Nanayakara and SM Marikar handed over a letter with the details of the matter in question to the Speaker. The letter signed by MP Manusha Nanayakara was later released to the media. It read, and I quote, "I'm writing this letter to bring to your respectful attention the kind of irregular conduct that goes behind closed doors," unquote. The MP in his letter added, I quote, "I believe we need to intervene in these matters as it erodes the sacredness of the judiciary and makes a mockery of the rule of law," unquote. It added that the new appointment of the judge should be annulled and requested the Speaker to initiate disciplinary action against him. The MP said the conduct of the Minister of Justice Ali Sabri, being an attorney at law and a President's Counsel, cannot be condoned in any manner. The letter added that Ali Sabri should therefore be removed from his position as he is not suitable to hold the office as the Minister of Justice.
Our call as well as today's call was COVID first. Let us defeat COVID and give vaccination to over 100 countries that are today asking for the vaccination. And it's not a time to be bringing country-specific resolutions like selecting country A, B and C. This was the voice. Sri Lanka was appreciated by all these countries who expressed their viewpoint. His Excellency the President with his mandate in 2019, decided, as promised to the country, to withdraw from the co-sponsorship of the resolution on Sri Lanka, which the previous government had agreed. But constitutionally, it was not possible. But His Excellency the President appointed a domestic mechanism headed by a Supreme Court judge to head a commission of inquiry to entertain any complaints or allegations made by any Sri Lankans for the period that we were facing the most difficult conflict in the world arena, facing up to the barbaric LTT, which is even a banned organization today. Out of the 47 countries of the Human Rights Commission, they could harness only 22. 25 votes was not on their side of the resolution. They did not say yes to the resolution. We thank all those countries who stood up for the defense not only of Sri Lanka, for the defense of all other countries, sovereign nations of the world. Sri Lanka restored human rights by defeating the LTT.
Meanwhile, journalists questioned the foreign minister on India's decision to abstain from voting on the resolution against Sri Lanka.
India කරපු ප්‍රකාශය තමන් ඡන්දය දීමෙන් වැළකී සිටිනවා.
India abstained from voting. They did not say that they would vote in favor of the resolution. They didn't do that either. As they abstained from voting, they could have cast their vote in favor of the resolution, but they didn't do that. They could have voted against us by urging us to conduct the provincial council elections swiftly, but they didn't do that. India has been commenting on matters concerning the Tamils for a very long time. Therefore, there is no problem with that. The relevant steps are being taken gradually to address them. We believe that India is a friendly nation of ours. We do not say that India is not a friendly nation of ours. Therefore, we will conduct ourselves accordingly.
අපි හිතන්නේ නැහැ ඉන්දියාව අපේ මිත්‍ර රටක් නොවේ කියලා. ඒ අනුව අපි කටයුතු කළා තියෙනවා.
State Minister Ajit Niwad Cabral iterated in Parliament today that a sugar scam had not occurred in the country. Speaking in response to the State Minister, Opposition MP Dr. Harsha De Silva questioned the veracity of such a claim when a forensic audit on the matter had not been conducted. We now direct your attention to the relevant debate.
It was not the first time this was reduced to 25 cents. Your government has done so too. It is fine if the reduced price has been left alone like us. What happened was after 2 months the tax was hiked to 15 rupees. So there was a window of 2 months for any person to import and gain a profit. That is the difference. We know what happened. You would have thought we would follow suit. We have not. It was not only the levy on sugar which was reduced. The levy on big onions was reduced from 50 rupees to 25 cents as well. The special commodity levy on dal was reduced from 5 rupees to 25 cents. The special commodity levy on canned fish, which was at 100 rupees, was also reduced to 25 cents. At the same time, the special commodity levy on sugar was also reduced from 50 rupees to 25 cents. The reduction was done across the board. Due to requests made by the fishing communities, the special commodity levy on canned fish was hiked again. We intentionally incurred loss of 21.7 billion to translate it into a gain for the people. That is not a scam. That was a relief granted to the public by the government intentionally. Opponents claim that the people have not benefited through this. It does not occur immediately. It takes a considerable amount of time. But it does happen, and by today it has happened. Our government has not done anything illegal. It has happened systematically.
මුළු රටේම අහන්නේ මේ බදු අඩු කිරීම ජනතාවට කියන අනේ ප්‍රශ්නේ.
If it has not happened, you can propose to impose the 50 rupee levy once again. It cannot be done. It benefited the people.
බදු ප්‍රතිපත්තිය කියන එක රජයේ ප්‍රතිපත්තිය.
Tax policies are formulated by specific governments. Taxes can be hiked and reduced based on the discretion of the government. We admit that. One individual had more than 8,000 metric tons stored in a bonded warehouse. When the levy was reduced from 50 rupees to 25 cents, he paid the 25-cent SCL and released the sugar. This report includes all the information. The corporation named Pyramid Wilmar. That company alone had imported 125,000 metric tons of sugar to the country over 12 weeks, paying a levy of just 25 cents. The scam has occurred based on the fact he did not mention. The government suffered a loss of 49 rupees and 75 cents by way of a gazette. When the gazette stipulated to Satasa that sugar should be sold at 85 rupees to the people, what cost it Satasa Bear to purchase sugar from Wilma? We do not know how much it is. Certain parties claim it was in excess of 100 rupees. If it in fact did purchase for that price, did that loss not occur because of the scam?
නොයෙකුත් කට්ටිය කියනවා සතොස ගත්තේ 100 ගණන් වලට කියලා. 100 ගණන් වලට සතොස ගත්තා නම් එහෙමනම් ඒ පාඩුව ඒක වංචාවක් නිසා වෙච්ච දෙයක් නෙමෙයිද?
දැන් ඔබතුමා කිව්වා සතොසෙන් රුපියල් 100 ගණන් දීලා අරගෙනද කියලා. දැන් ගත්තයි කියලා තොරතුරක් නැහැනේ.
හරියට හරි. ඒකයි වැදගත්. ඔබතුමා හරි ගරු මන්ත්‍රීතුමා.
You are correct. That is what needs addressing. You are correct. I respect that. I cannot say what the price was. That can be determined by the Auditor General. He should conduct an audit into this.
ගණනයක් කරන්න ඕනේ.
මං අහන්නේ මේ රුපියල් 50 නැවත වතාවක් දැම්මොත්
වැඩි වෙනවා. ඒකේ දෙකක් නෑ. අපි කියන්නේ සීනි මිල උච්චාව.
It will increase, no doubt. We agree the price of sugar fluctuates in the world market. Hence, every government amends the levy accordingly. However, the burning issue here is that once the levy was reduced, a gazette was imposed mentioning a maximum price. If it had not occurred, we have no right to claim it was a scam. A forensic audit will reveal if people truly benefited or whether certain people lie in their pockets. Our Auditor General's department can carry out this audit.
අපේ විගණකාධිපති දෙපාර්තමේන්තුවට පුළුවන් මේ විගණනය කරන්න. මේකේ අධික ලාභයක් ලැබුණා කියන එක.
Even we agree that an unfair profit was enjoyed. I concede that the total requirement of sugar per month is 55,000 metric tons. If a misdealing has occurred, an audit should take place regardless of who says what.
ආණ්ඩුව මේකෙදි කාරු කොහොම කිව්වත් දැන් අපිට අහන්න ලැබෙනවා.
We hear a sugar scam has occurred. The scam here is the tax revenue meant for the government was reduced. Somehow that reduction did not translate to a benefit for the people. Why? Because of the undue domination of sugar traders.
ඇයි සීනි වෙලෙන්දන්ගේ ආධිපත්‍යය හා ඔවුන්ගේ ජාවාරම නිසා දැන් මේක මට්ටු කරන්න බැරුව අපිට බදු අඩු කරලා වැඩක් නැහැ.
Speaking to a weekend paper, MP Dr. Vijaydas Rajapaksa has said that the Shangri-La Hotel must be acquired by the government for the massive losses the public had to incur owing to the sugar and coconut oil scam.
I quote, there is an accusation against the government in this regard. The government accepts it. The government is speaking of the intention behind it, whether it is good or bad. But that is not relevant to the people. If I was the president, I would bring in a couple of articles to investigate the matter with 2 or 3 clauses. With the act, I would find out whether a scam had taken place. If it had, take over the Shangri-La Hotel within 2 weeks. Because of the huge loss the public had to incur through the sugar and coconut oil, the Shangri-La Hotel must be taken over by the government. This government must do this. If not, who else will pay for this loss? Is it paid through the finance minister's account or through the pockets of the secretary to the ministry? Taking over the Shangri-La Hotel and vesting it with the people by the government is the only solution to this. Unquote.
The Federation of National Organizations raised concerns over the expected relief not being granted to the general public through various gazettes that have been published. These remarks were made at a media briefing organized by the outfit. Bandula Gunawardena issues a circular to sell rice which is bought at 96 rupees and at 98 rupees. Further down in the circular it notes corn flour bought at 74 rupees must be sold at 84 rupees. There is a 10 rupee profit for corn flour and a 2 rupee profit for rice. That is clearly a conspiracy. This would hinder the selling of rice and an artificial shortage will be created. Thereafter they would have to pay $100 for a metric ton of rice to be imported. This is a conspiracy to destroy our farming communities.
ඒ කියන්නේ ඔබතුමාලාද ඔය නිර්මාණය කරපු බලවේගය ඔය නිලධාරීන්ටයි ඔය සහල් මාෆියාකාරයන්ටයි යටත් වෙලා රූකඩ විදියට දැසෙන්නේ. සියල්ල දන්නවා කියලා හිතාගෙන
They think they know it all and issue directives. He controls the country. There is a top official at the presidential secretariat and for over 30 years he has not rendered any sort of service to the nation. He is the unnamed president. He has henchmen in the treasury. They are the ones who have orchestrated this. Ministers are dormant if they are talking nonsense.
We now cross over to a short commercial break. More news on the other side. Welcome back to the news. Minister Chamal Rajapaksa explained facts about the proposed irrigation project near Singharaja. The minister was replying to a query raised by SJP MP Buddhika Patirana in Parliament today.
The media has been reporting a statement made by you of a proposed construction of 2 tanks in an area spanning 5 acres in Singharaja to provide water to Hambantota. I expect to gain an answer from you now whether those will be constructed within Singharaja or outside it. A large destruction has occurred because of the overflowing of the Nilwala and Ging rivers. The Department of Irrigation had plans to direct the water of the Kalu, Ging and Nilwala rivers towards the northeast for over 90 years. No government has implemented it, however. It has resulted in many being deprived of clean water. It had to be done someday. These projects centering the Ging River had been planned years before. The Singharaja matter has aggravated now, but this was a plan which had been in the pipeline for many years. We have requested UNESCO to conduct a study on this to assess the impact of constructing a reservoir in the lower part of the Ging River where a few families reside. If not, we will be unable to provide people with water and also to evade floods from occurring. We have initiated it after considering all of this. If not, it would not have been implemented.
මේ හැම දෙයක් අහම බලලා තමයි ක්‍රියාත්මක කරන්නේ නිකන් එහෙම ක්‍රියාත්මක වෙන්නේ
We are very well aware that the Uma Oya project is being targeted to source water for large-scale development projects taking place in Hambantota. They proceeded with the Uma Oya project although the environmental impact assessment report on the matter was unlawful. As a result of implementing the project, 17,500 families have been displaced. Apart from families being displaced, the project has turned out to be a failure as well. Since they could not obtain water through this project, they are attempting to launch the Ging and Nilwala water projects. Therefore, they are attempting to exploit the country's water resources instead of allowing the people to benefit through them. We know that a preliminary agreement has been reached to give away 150,000 acres of land near the Hambantota port while leasing it out to a Chinese company. This is how Chinese companies are repeatedly exerting pressure. Problems relating to water must be resolved, but they are allowing these projects to be turned into investments. They say the 2 wabers are to be constructed in Singharaja. They are also planning to launch the Ging Nilwala project to supply water to the projects taking place in Hambantota with the involvement of China. Chamal Rajapaksa is saying that 2 wabers are to be constructed in Singharaja, which is considered to be a sensitive ecosystem in which a single plant cannot be harmed. This means that Chamal Rajapaksa has publicly admitted that deforestation will take place in Singharaja. Therefore, shouldn't officials from either the Forest Department or any other authority arrest Chamal Rajapaksa? That has not happened. The eldest brother of the Rajapaksa clan, Chamal, made a statement few days ago, stating that 2 wavers would be constructed in Singharaja to direct water to Hambantota. We inquired into the project. It is not being done to provide water for the people, but for corporations and their henchmen. Chamal is the person who took part in the groundbreaking ceremony in Wellavaya to construct the Uma Oya and caused grave damages. They destroyed that first and are now attempting to destroy Singharaja as well.
Samagi Jana Balawegaya parliamentarian Patali Champika Ranavaka has said that the proposed reservoir project in Singharaja is another mega project that would adversely affect the World Heritage Site. In a post published on Facebook, the parliamentarian pointed out that the objective of this agreement is to supply water to projects taking place in Hambantota with China's involvement. MP Patali Champika Ranavaka recalled that former President Maithripala Sirisena and former Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe had opposed a proposal for a reservoir project in Singharaja during the Good Governance government. He said that a feasibility study carried out by the Central Engineering Consultancy Bureau on the reservoir project in Singharaja has revealed that it would not provide sufficient water to Hambantota.
Centre for Environment and Nature Studies has informed UNESCO of the statements made by Minister Chamal Rajapaksa regarding the construction of 2 wavers close to the World Heritage Singharaja Forest.
The Singharaja is a main rainforest in Sri Lanka. It is a forest that is millions of years old.
we won't be able to recreate that environmental system even if 2 wavers are constructed in 100 acres. This is named the World Heritage of the People. As the people and as environmentalists, we won't allow politicians to destroy this World Heritage.
What would have been the reason for this project that leaves a World Heritage site at risk? China has been implementing several projects involving the road, maritime and aviation routes of various countries under its Belt and Road Initiative. The Hambantota Port and the Colombo Port City are some entities that are linked to these projects. The economic and political pressure exerted by China is not confined by its One Belt, One Road initiative. Matters have come to light on a water blackmail practice as well.
A report published in the Harvard International Review has found that South and Southeast Asian nations have become victims of China's water blackmail practice. The report has been compiled by Dr. Patrick Mendes and Dr. Antonia Lushikiewicz. According to the report, China has established control over the rivers Brahmaputra, Irrawaddy and Mekong rivers in the Tibetan Plateau. The professors note that this situation is a testament to the power Beijing can potentially wield by being able to unilaterally turn off the taps. They add that this would allow China to store or divert water in a way that might lead to the drying out of vast territories downstream. According to the report, the diversion of this water could have serious implications for the livelihoods of almost half of the world's population in South and Southeast Asia. The report has identified this mechanism as a water blackmail. It observed that such moves have affected countries such as Cambodia, Vietnam, Laos, Myanmar and Thailand, and that India too has fallen prey to this trap. Is Sri Lanka also falling prey to this system of water blackmail carried out by China? The Singharaja forest and its surroundings are blessed with pure sources of water that enrich the ecosystem. Against such a backdrop, is China attempting to gain control of these water bodies by diverting 3 rivers running through Singharaja to construct 2 reservoirs? Wouldn't the loss of the Singharaja ecosystem potentially impact not just the water bodies in the area, but across the country as well? Sri Lanka has already fallen prey to China's power blackmail. It was a Chinese company that was involved in the construction of the Norochole power plant that meets most of the country's electricity demand. Chinese nationals are carrying out repair and maintenance at the Norochole power plant even at present. Breakdowns at the power plant have been reported on numerous occasions, apart from the environment pollution caused due to coal. In addition, the economic issues stemming from the Norochole power plant seem to have grown out of Sri Lanka's control. Is this the same fate that would befall the country's water resources? Newsfirst will continue to report on matters like this, protecting the people's right to know. Although diplomatic ties are of importance, we will continue to report based on the interests of Sri Lanka against the pressure exerted by countries such as the United States, China and India on our nation.
The Samagi Jana Balavega held a symbolic silent protest opposite the entrance to the parliament this morning to oppose ecocide rampant at present.
A number of parliamentarians representing the Samagi Jana Balavega, including the leader of the opposition Sajith Premadasa, took part in the demonstration.
A government which commits ecocide is formed in our country at present. The people of this country have the right to breathe. But to breathe, one requires oxygen. Our forests produce oxygen. This government does not understand photosynthesis. They should be educated on that from kindergarten. This ecocide must be stopped.
Pakistan's Republic Day was celebrated in Sri Lanka today at the Pakistan Embassy in Colombo.
The event was attended by the High Commissioner of the Islamic Republic of Pakistan, which commenced with a flag hoisting ceremony.
Pakistan attaches great importance to its relation with Sri Lanka, which are based on mutual respect, understanding and close cooperation. To further our bilateral relations, you are aware that Pakistan's Prime Minister was here with a very heavy delegation on trade and investment. Pakistan has always extended unconditional support to Sri Lanka with regard to her national security and other needs. I would like to assure the government and people of Sri Lanka that Pakistan would always stand with them whenever they require Pakistan's support.
We now cross over to a short commercial break.
Struggling to find reliable plumbers, electricians, gardeners and other service providers?
Bellboys got you covered.
An investigation has been launched upon the advice of the Attorney General into incidents of match fixing in cricket, based on an expose by the Al Jazeera media network.
Why were you fired, Professor? The most difficult question that you are, throwing at me.
Being on stage or being in front of the camera?
I had several dreams, Tarushik.
Why past tense?
The government should support the film industry.
Deforestation.
The end.
The end. The end of everything.
Yes. Instruct actors not to blink in front of the camera. Like when you are performing, you should not blink. Just deliver your line. Don't blink.
English theatre is making a bold comeback after 13 months to the Lionel Wendt Theatre this Thursday with Yasmin Reza's art directed by Steve De La Silva. The Oliver Award-winning play will comprise Shanaka Amarasinghe, Chamat Arambewala and Lihan Mendes.
This play, more than being about a painting, more than it being just about art, it's really about friendship and about how opinions divide people and how those differences of opinion can and may be resolved, or maybe not at all. That's something that all the characters tend to deal with.
Obviously, things are going to be different from an audience perspective, and we want to set the standard of how we'd like theatre to happen going forward, as minimum contact as possible, masks on to ensure that there's no issues with hygiene and any breach of COVID standards. But that aside, to be back on the boards at the Wendt is incredibly exciting, and to put on the first English play after a year or so is incredible.
The play will open on the 25th of this month, that is this Thursday, and will happen on the 26th and on the 27th as well.
We leave it tonight with the remarks expressed during a media briefing of the Journalists for a Just Society movement, highlighting the need to ensure media freedom in the country. For the Newsfirst team, I'm Martin Satyanesan, along with our sign language interpreter Taraka Gabriel and producer Tarusha Kumar Singha. Take care and good night.
The epilogue.
We wish to responsibly and respectfully state that free media is important to protect democracy in a country, the freedom of the people, the right to expression and the right to know. Therefore, this is a vital component. We don't expect this to be breached by the country's leaders, government officials or any state authority. If anyone is trying to draw the country back towards the era in which media outlets were suppressed heavily, the people, journalists and all civic groups will stand up against that. We know that media freedom is not a privilege that someone should ask for. That is a right that must be enjoyed by journalists. We are witnessing a pathetic situation in the country. Police officers in the CID who investigated crimes committed against journalists have been given service transfers. If this continues to take place, how can we be satisfied with the outcomes of these investigations? Have they arrested those linked to Lasanta's murder? No. This is a dark history that has been left behind for future generations.
The epilogue.